All right, everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
This time we're going to be looking at something we all have to deal with every single day, and that is getting around.
Especially in the city.
Especially in the city.
Right.
We've got some source material here from someone named Adam, and
Sounds like fun.
yeah.
Sounds like a fun deep dive.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
What's interesting is I'm looking at the material and it's not just a list of transportation, it's really his experience.
That's what makes it interesting.
Using those different modes.
I think a lot of people can relate to that because we all use different ways of getting around the city.
Right. And it seems like from the material I've looked at, Adam's not afraid to try anything.
Oh, good.
So that should be fun.
Excellent.
So he starts out really simple, just riding the bus.
Of course.
I mean, just the classic bus.
Yeah, the bus is a staple of public transportation for a reason.
Yeah. And it seems like he's all about that.
Yeah.
Simple commute, right?
Keeps us simple.
Cost effective, easy to use.
Absolutely.
But,
Alternative.
our source material does mention that classic Monday morning, crammed bus.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Oh, my God.
The dreaded Monday morning commute.
Yes.
You even find a seat.
You're like, oh, this is my life.
You're like sardines in a can.
And I was just thinking about, is there any way to kind of maybe make that more appealing? Or
I mean, some cities have really nice bus systems.
Right.
Some cities are working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a tough one because you've got so many people trying to get to work or school at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's only so many buses and so much road space.
Yeah. So maybe some cities doing a good job, some cities not so much, but
Definitely a challenge.
yeah, it is a challenge.
It's a work in progress.
So we're talking about that sort of shorter commute.
Right.
But what about when you need to cover more ground, like you're in a hurry?
Right.
So the source material mentions that Adam's friend Mia introduces him to the subway. And it sounds like he was really impressed by the speed and the whole just modern feel of the subway.
I mean, subways are great because they're fast.
Yes.
They're usually pretty clean. They're efficient. They get you where you need to go on time.
I thought it was really interesting. There was this little detail about Mia having to show him how to use the ticket machines.
Oh, yeah.
And it made me think about how much of a factor is that
Totally.
in terms of, the design.
It can be intimidating if you've never used a subway system before.
Right.
Especially if you're in a new city.
Right.
But, I think a well-designed system should be pretty user-friendly.
Right.
Even if you're a first-timer.
So it sounds like he really enjoyed the subway, but, you know, sometimes you just want that door-to-door convenience.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the source material mentions Adam, after a trip to the mall, decides to take a taxi back.
Makes sense.
So, a little more expensive, but I guess he's feeling like, I just want to treat myself.
Little luxuries.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, taxis are great for that because they're so flexible. Right. They can pick you up anywhere, drop you off anywhere.
Yeah.
No need to worry about bus stops or train stations.
I always like taking taxis in a new city.
Me too.
You never know what kind of character is going to be behind the wheel.
Oh, yeah. You always get those interesting conversations.
Right. And our source material mentions that Adam actually ends up having this really nice chat.
Oh, that's nice.
With the taxi driver who's sharing all these local stories and insights about the city.
Love that.
It's just that element of, that human connection.
Yes. Right. It's like a little adventure.
Yeah.
Every time you hop in a taxi.
Exactly.
You never know what you're going to get.
So we talked about getting around the city, but what about if you need to go further out of town?
Yeah.
So Adam decides to visit his cousin.
Okay.
And he chooses the train for this journey.
Nice.
And it seems like he's really enjoying the comfort and the views along the way. Yeah. There's something so relaxing about train travel.
Yeah.
You can just sit back and enjoy the scenery.
I always feel like I can get so much work done on a train.
Me too.
Because it's like you're moving, but you're not driving.
Exactly.
So you can really focus.
Like a moving office.
Yes.
With a view.
I thought it was interesting. His cousin Sarah actually suggests they carpool back home together.
Oh, cool.
As a way to save money. And also, it's more social.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And it made me think about ride sharing and how that's becoming so popular for these longer distances.
It's a great way to be more sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and save some money at the same time.
So we've covered buses, subways, taxis, trains. But what about options that let you kind of get some exercise and explore at your own pace?
Right.
I'm talking about bikes.
Of course.
Plastic bikes.
Yeah.
And it looks like Adam, over the weekend, decided to rent a bike.
Nice.
To get a little workout in and see the sights.
Good for him.
I mean, it's just such a classic way to experience a city.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
And it's so good for you.
Right. And you see so much more
than
if you're just on a bus or in a car or something.
And you can go at your own pace.
Right.
Stop whenever you want.
Exactly.
Take pictures.
And speaking of like kind of fun ways to get around.
Yes.
There's a little tidbit in the source material about him zipping to the grocery store on an electric scooter.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like those are popping up everywhere.
They are.
Like little electric scooters and bikes and...
Micromobility,
Yeah.
they call it.
It's just so convenient, right?
It is.
Like just to kind of zip around.
Especially for those short trips.
Yeah.
Where you don't want to deal with traffic or parking.
It's amazing how Adam is showing us all these different ways
Wow.
to get around. And it makes you think, is there a best way to get around?
I don't think so.
Or is it more about choosing the right tool for the job?
Exactly.
Like, it just depends
It depends on your needs.
on the situation, right?
Yeah. What are you trying to do?
So it's like having a toolbox full of transportation options,
I like that analogy.
and you just pick the right one.
Absolutely.
But I'm realizing it's not just about practicality.
What?
It's almost like the journey itself is just as important as actually, like, arriving.
It is.
And that's what I find so fascinating.
Yeah, the journey can be an experience in itself.
Right.
And that's something that Adam seems to really appreciate.
Right, and I'm excited to see what else we can uncover about that
We too.
as we keep looking at these sources.
Let's keep digging.
It's interesting how Adam seems to be collecting these transportation experiences.
Like little souvenirs
Yeah,
from his travels.
exactly. And it's not just the usual, like, buses and subways.
Right.
It looks like he's even tried trams and ferries
Oh, wow.
in different cities.
That's cool. I love trams.
Yeah.
They're so charming.
And it made me think about how, like, trams and ferries are often so tied to the geography and history
Totally.
of a city.
Like you think of San Francisco and you think of the cable cars
Right.
or Amsterdam and the canals.
Right.
It's part of their identity.
It really is like each city has its own transportation personality.
Absolutely.
And Adam's just trying them all on.
I love that.
I imagine he's got some pretty good insights now.
Yeah, he must have a pretty well-rounded perspective
After all this.
on transportation.
In fact, there's a little anecdote in here about
Uh-huh.
his neighbor asking him for advice
Oh, really?
on the best way to get around the city.
Yeah.
And Adam basically says, like,
What do you say?
it depends on where you're going.
That's true.
Every option is useful in its own way.
Yeah,
And I think that just sums it up perfectly.
it does. There's no one-size-fits-all answer
Right.
when it comes to transportation.
It's about having that toolbox.
Right. You got the right tool for the job.
And choosing the right tool.
Exactly.
But it's also interesting to see how Adam's really appreciating that transportation shapes our whole experience of the city.
Totally.
Right.
It's not just about getting from point A to B.
Right.
It's about the journey itself.
It's about the people you meet,
Yes.
the things you see.
The sights, the sounds.
Exactly.
Those are
It makes you think about, like, even those everyday commutes
Right.
in a different way,
Maybe instead of dreading the bus ride,
right?
you can actually use that time to be productive.
Or just relax
Yeah.
and kind of enjoy the ride.
Or just people watch.
Yeah,
That's always fun.
exactly. And it really highlights the need for designing
Yeah.
transportation systems that are more human-centered.
Absolutely. We need comfortable spaces,
Right.
reliable schedules, a sense of safety
Right.
and security.
And it's not just about getting from point A to B.
No,
It's about connecting people,
Yes.
the opportunity
to each other,
to the city itself.
to the community.
And as we move towards a future where technology is like playing a bigger role
Right.
in transportation,
Huge role.
we've got to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
It's not just about efficiency.
It's got to be about people.
It's got to be about accessibility, sustainability,
Yeah, equity.
the community.
For sure.
And it's amazing to see how Adam's individual choices
Right.
and his willingness to try new things
Yeah.
really point to this more holistic way.
Human-centered
Yeah,
approach to transportation.
exactly.
I love it.
And this shift is happening on a larger scale, too.
Oh, yeah?
With cities rethinking their strategies,
All over the world?
investing in public transit, promoting cycling, walking,
Absolutely.
and then exploring these new technologies.
Like autonomous vehicles?
Exactly. Speaking of which, the source material mentions Adam having this conversation with a friend
Uh-huh.
about self-driving cars.
Oh, interesting.
And it sounds like it was a pretty lively debate
Yeah, that's a hot topic.
about the potential impact
Right.
on cities.
There's a lot to consider.
Yeah, it feels like we're on the verge of this big transformation,
It's exciting.
but also kind of scary
And a little bit scary.
because we don't know
Yeah, what's it going to look like?
what it's going to look
How
like.
it's going to change things.
But Adam's journey has given us so much to think about already.
Yes.
And it's a good reminder that transportation
yeah.
is more than just a means to an end.
It's part of the urban experience.
It shapes our perceptions, our interactions,
Well, yeah,
and
it's,
ultimately our relationship with the city.
For sure.
And as we try to navigate this complex modern urban life,
I know.
It's those little stories, those moments of discovery,
the human connections
that are going to guide us towards
hopefully a better future.
Transportation future.
Yes, a more sustainable future.
Yeah.
A more equitable future.
For everyone.
That's the goal.
So, as fascinating as Adam's journey has been, I think it's time for us to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And explore some of these emerging trends and challenges.
Sounds good.
In more detail.
I'm ready.
We'll be right back after a quick message. Okay, so we're back.
Back again.
And ready to dive into
some more transportation.
All these like new trends and challenges that are
facing our cities,
popping up. So what's really grabbing your attention these days?
Well, one of the biggest things is technology.
Right.
We were talking about autonomous vehicles before the break, but there's also, all these apps.
Right.
And real-time traffic management systems.
I know. It's crazy.
It's really changing things.
It's wild how fast it's all happening.
I know, it's moving so quickly.
Yeah, those self-driving cars, they're really intriguing.
Like something out of a movie.
Yeah, but I'm also like, I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, there are definitely some pros and cons.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, you've got the potential for increased safety.
Yeah.
Fewer accidents.
That would be amazing.
Less congestion.
That would be amazing.
And also greater accessibility for people who can't drive.
Right.
So there are a lot of potential benefits.
But then there's like the whole job situation.
Right.
Yeah. Like what happens to all the
drivers?
Taxi drivers and truck drivers and...
Yeah, it's a big question mark.
Yeah. And like, how do we even know they're going to be safe?
Right. Like, what if... There's always that risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still early days.
Right.
But we definitely need to be having those conversations about safety, about ethics, about the societal impact.
It's like a whole new world.
It is. It's a whole new world of transportation.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to figure it out.
But it's not all about technology, right? There's also this growing awareness of...
sustainability.
Yeah.
We got to protect our planet.
Right. And cities are starting to prioritize that.
Absolutely.
Like investing in public transit.
Expanding bike lanes.
Yeah.
Encouraging people to walk more.
And those e-bikes and scooters.
Oh, yeah. Those are everywhere.
They're just so much fun.
They're fun, and they're good for the environment.
It's like that perfect combination.
It is. It's like guilt-free transportation.
Right.
You can zip around and feel good about it.
Exactly.
It's a win-win.
So really, it's like a much bigger picture now.
It is.
It's not just about getting from point A to B.
It's about the how.
Yeah.
Why, the impact.
And making sure everyone has options.
Safe, reliable, affordable options.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Accessible options.
Accessible for everyone.
So, yeah, I think what I've really learned from all this is that the future of transportation, it's about creating these integrated systems.
Connected systems. That work together seamlessly.
Equitable.
Sustainable.
Enjoyable.
That enjoyable to use.
And I think Adam's whole journey has been so inspiring.
It has.
Just his willingness to try new things and...
to be open-minded.
Yeah, and like find that joy in the journey.
Exactly.
I think we can all learn from that.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question to think about.
Okay.
Imagine yourself exploring a new city. What's the first mode of transportation you'd choose?
Interesting question.
And what would make you choose that?
Lots of factors to consider.
Yeah. And what kind of transportation future do you envision for your own community?
Big questions.
Yeah.
But important questions.
Yeah. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
So share your thoughts with us on social media.
Or email us.
Yeah. Let's keep this conversation going.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of urban transportation.
It's been a pleasure.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From buses to bikes to self-driving cars.
And everything in between.
And everything in between.
It's a fascinating world.
It is. And we hope you've enjoyed exploring it with us.
Me too.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward.
See you next time.